Hello, everyone, and welcome to Screen Weens, episode 168, I think.
Something like
Today,
that.
we're going to be talking about House from 1977 and Sweet Home from 1989, I think.
I believe so. Yes.
I'm London.
I'm Thomas.
We love movies.
We do.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about 2J horror movies shortly. But beforehand, as always, we're going to talk about our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Roiland.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
I heard some things.
Knowing what he's made, I'm not saying that, like, I'm completely shocked.
So
It's disappointing as always, but...
It's for spouse abuse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, because he's made some other things, so if the reveal was something else...
It's domestic violence, and there's... yeah, it's mostly that, I think.
Okay, because I know some of his older cartoons, like before Rick and Morty, like the original Rick and Morty short, I'm sure you've heard of. With a little hindsight, I could have seen a different reveal and been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But at least it wasn't that, but that still doesn't. Yeah. Fucking yikes.
We'll see next week if, because usually when this happens, and a bunch of other people also come out and be like, yeah, this also happened to me. I just didn't want to say anything.
I've seen, like, some, like, text, like, threads of, like, text messages he sent that just are kind of gross. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, I've been off the Rick and Morty train for a couple years, but, yeah, yikes.
Yeah. In lighter news, I played the Sweet Home video game.
Oh, how was it?
I've been enjoying myself. I only played for about half an hour, and I, immediately was getting stuck on stuff just because it's, an old RPG, and I'm not really used to how things function. So I watched a little bit of a playthrough to see, am I on the right track? And I was, and I was just like, oh, okay. So I might pick it up. It was fun from what I was playing.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play it. I have to find, an emulator or something for it.
I really like the characters in it, because they're all the characters from the movie, but they're like, okay, what's this iconic? Okay, this character, they're going to carry around their vacuum cleaner the whole time. And you can use it to, suck up debris and stuff. I'm like, this is fun. But it's like, you have to find hidden clues on a painting, so you got to take a picture of it. There's some cool stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize it was an RPG. I thought it was a puzzle game at first, because it is. There's a lot of puzzles. And then I was walking and suddenly went into a battle and it's evil doll appeared. And when that first happened, I was just like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Because I actually wasn't expecting.
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, the game seems pretty fun so far. I wanted to see. I played it actually 30 minutes before I watched the movie. I'm like, oh, I'll play this a little bit.
I see. They play the ad for it on that.
Yeah, at the very beginning. I'm like, hey, and then I'm like, I should skip this because it seems like it's showing clips from the movie that are.
Yeah, thankfully I was kind of in and out of the ad. I was like, all right, yeah, because they're showing clips from the movie, so I was like, I'm not going to wholly pay attention to this. Yeah. And I'm glad I didn't, because if they had revealed any of the end game designs, I would have been like, oh, well, that's kind of bummer. But
yeah, so I did that. That's me and Pierre saw a movie. January, as you know, in theaters is full of movies that are fake, that just don't seem real.
Yeah, it's usually it's leftovers from last year and kind of just
random shit. So I watched Plane.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of odd,
it's good.
I've heard, fun things about it.
Yeah, it's good. Me and Pierre walked in, I'm like, this is gonna suck, but I like watching movies. It was, legitimately good. It's the first time I've seen, a disaster movie made in the last, 10 years that I've been like, I'm down.
It's a disaster movie?
Well, I mean, the first chunk of it, the plane stuff, does feel like a fun, disaster thing. And then it's a fun action movie. And, both parts of the movie are pretty good.
Yeah.
Gerard Butler is pretty good in it. Mike Coulter's in it. And I like him. Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I saw an interview with him, and they're like, are you ready to jump back in as soon as they call you? And he's like, I'm okay. He was pretty much just like, I mean, maybe, but like, I'm happy just doing what I'm doing. You know? Yeah. I'm like, that's the best response I've seen for this in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's a good, he was a good Luke Cage, but it's like, I only watched the first season of his show, and it wasn't bad. Like, I liked it, but it was doing a lot of, like, we can't decide who we want our main villain to be. It swaps up, like, 3 or 4 times. So it's just one of those ones where when you finish it, it kind of feels like it's like, the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely doesn't necessarily build as well as the other ones do. Mm-hmm. At least from what I remember.
I thought it was way better than Iron Fist and
Iron Fist I couldn't finish, and Defenders I couldn't finish.
I finished both of them, and then I didn't watch any of the second.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well, I watched Daredevil season 2, but I didn't watch anything that released.
I didn't see season 3 of Daredevil.
Same. I want to though.
Yeah, and I didn't ever watch Punisher, which I also heard was pretty good.
I've heard mixed things on Punisher. I hear it's pretty like good as a show, but I've heard a lot of like hardcore Punisher fans kind of be like, but it's like. I don't know how much stock to give those people. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
So we watched Plane that day. Me and Hinatea saw Puss in Boots again. Or she hadn't seen it, so we watched it again. And it's still pretty good. Mm-hmm. Pretty good. About the same quality as Plane.
I see.
And then before all that day, me and Pierre went to the theater and we watched a little movie called The Devil Prophecy. It's about a biotech company who steals the DNA of Jesus so they can replicate his body and put Lucifer's soul in it. It's really cringe and bad. It's also just really boring.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
My camera's not focused. That's funny. I look like an ethereal being now. Yeah, it was pretty rough. It was a pretty rough watch. Wouldn't recommend it. Lucifer, some of his dialogue's pretty funny, because he's like, fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What else did I watch? Did I watch anything? We'll see.
No, I feel it. Because I watched the Evil Dead remake last week, and they kind of try to do some of that Exorcist shit, where it's like, I'll suck your cock, pretty boy. Yeah. It's just like, That's just funny now. Like, it doesn't come off as shocking or anything.
I watched
New Devil Speak.
I watched a movie called I Used to Be Famous that came out last year. It's about it's like a fictional movie. A fictional movie. It's about a guy who like used to be in a boy band and he's, not popular anymore at all. But he like tries to make a new band with this young kid who has autism. It's like pretty run-of-the-mill, like, we're making a band together. There's nothing in it that's too exciting. However, that type of movie is my shit. I love those types of. So it was, like, pretty generic, but fine to watch. I watched it while I built that shelf.
I see. Very nice.
And then I was done with the shelf, and there were 20 minutes left of the movie. And I'm like, I guess I'll just sit here and watch this. It was fine enough, though.
Yeah.
I kept going, like, remember Rudderless?
Yeah, Rudderless is good. I think about that one a lot. That's one I really
Rudderless is and the music in Rudderless is all like, they're all bangers too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, no, I found like on YouTube like the album that's like the 2 guys who wrote all the music for it, and they're just playing it on like acoustic guitar and stuff. It's like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's not as good as Billy Crudup, but
Billy Crudup's so good in that movie.
Yeah, he's surprisingly like, I was not expecting him to be that level of a vocalist, and then it's just like, oh damn, but yeah, he's good. But yeah,
yeah, I think that's pretty much all I watched this week. Didn't do a whole lot. Played some board games, did a little dance, all that jazz.
Very nice. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot either. I just watched the 2 movies, and then I also restarted Red Dead Redemption 1.
Nice.
Yes.
And I might finally get to read some Dune this week. So last week's just been brutal.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to sit down and read it now.
Yeah, I'm planning on reading that through this week. Cool. Yeah, so we'll see how my progress on that goes, and we'll touch base on it.
But
Yeah. Aside from that,
Let's check if we have questions.
yeah. Okay. Bam.
Oh, have you watched the trailer for Ant-Man 3? It's been out for a couple of weeks.
Oh no, I don't even watch the Marvel.
It looks bad. Looks bad.
Does it?
I think it looks pretty bad.
Well, I didn't like the last two, but this one's got a
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I like him.
He's in Creed 3 coming up soon as well.
Oh, is he really? Nice.
Yeah, I might want to watch those for the podcast coming up soon. Because I still haven't seen any of the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
Or the Creed.
Would you want to do the Rocky first? And then
I'd probably want to do a deep dive of Rocky, and then the week Creed 3 comes out, I might make you go to the theater.
I'd be down. I think I'd be okay with going and seeing Creed 3 in theaters.
It's Michael B. Jordan's directing it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm interested to see it because I know that there's been some behind the scenes drama with Sylvester Stallone because he apparently
is he in Creed 3? I don't think he was in Creed 2.
He is in Creed 2.
Oh, okay.
I think he plays like a subdued role. I think he's like in the hospital.
I just assumed he dies at the end of Creed 1. I just assumed because I haven't seen any of these.
Oh, no. I'm pretty sure he lives through both of them, but yeah, he, what's it called? I guess he didn't like the direction creatively that they were going for this new one, so he just kind of decided not to be a part of it. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is, but I'm sure we'll probably do a deeper dive and cover that when we talk about those movies eventually.
But we have no questions today. Yeah. But that means we have more time to talk about one of my favorite films in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this movie. Yeah. Let's talk about Hausu from 1977. You know, Star Wars is a pretty good movie, but it came out the same year as House. I was reading about this, and it seems like this movie didn't really hit big in America until like 2009.
Yeah, that does not surprise me.
Because like it didn't really get a release. And when it did commercially well, but critically, Japanese audiences were like, what the fuck was that?
I mean, fair. If you try to look at this through like a standard orthodox criticism lens,
also,
I guess I can get it. But
fun fact, when approached about this movie, the Toho went to Obayashi and was like, can you make a movie like Jaws? And he said, absolutely. And then he wrote this script. And then no one wanted to direct it, so he said, I'll do it.
I don't know the specifics. I've heard people say like a 10-year-old wrote this. Did he like consult his daughter or something and be like, hey, is it like the Shark Boy and Lava Girl of like...
Well, I might be misremembering these, so let me check the... Let me check.
But yeah, it's a very... I don't know if I want to say experimental. It feels experimental, though. Like, they use...
So it's... It was his daughter's idea.
Okay.
They were ideas from his daughter, and then he developed ideas for a script by Chiho Katsura. So that's like who the script's officially by, but then a lot of the ideas he gathered from his daughter.
I see.
And then no one at Toho wanted to direct it, so he's just like, I'll do it.
Well, good on him.
And he did not have a storyboard, and they filmed over 2 months, and he was probably just like, okay, now we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And we have already covered a Obayashi movie before. We've done Hanagatami.
Yeah.
Which is similar in its style to this.
More or less, yeah.
Which is interesting because I would say that movie is, like, subdued in its...
Yeah, wait.
Delivery.
Nagatami.
That's...
Yes.
It's the one with, like, the bomb in the back exploding.
Yeah, it's the one with the sick girl, right?
I think so.
And she's, like, looking up at the moon and, like... Yeah, no.
Yeah. I remember so many visuals from that movie. And, like, there's the flower petals all the time. They're in a class and everyone's, like, 30, you know?
Yes.
I want to rewatch that movie. Because every time I rewatch this movie, I go, I should watch more of this guy's movies.
Yeah. No.
And a lot of them we cannot get, like, I'm like, do I have to go to Japan? Do I have to learn Japanese?
Yeah, sometimes.
Or more like, do I need to pay someone to subtitle these Japanese movies and send them to me?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's part of the struggle. There's lots of Japanese media where I'm like, I want to know what's the deal with this. I want to like read Green Saga. Oh, it's not translated. Well, never mind. But yeah, So this movie is very interesting. It uses a lot of interesting like transitions and camera angles. Like there's lots of fade shots.
Oh, this movie is like one of those movies that I watch. I'm like, how do they do this?
Yeah,
there's some parts where I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is sick. Like I think this movie looks great. I think it has like a lot of visual creativity that like. I hate saying things like, you'll never see a movie like this, but this is one of those movies that I watch. I'm like, there's nothing like this, you know?
At least not with the time. I could see like someone being inspired and trying to do something like it nowadays.
Sweet Home.
Yeah, Sweet Home had a certain level. I'm pretty sure this movie probably like affected the like industry over in Japan when it came to horror. Maybe I don't know how big it was over there because you said it was.
Critically not very well, but it did like commercially pretty well, apparently.
Yeah, so I'm sure it probably had an effect. But yeah, no, this movie was pretty interesting to say the very least. So for anyone curious about like just the basic plot, basically there's this girl named Gorgeous who is the daughter of this big like film composer who just got back from like working with Ennio Morricone, so he's just like, yeah, he said I was better than fucking
someone. I can't.
Oh no, I think he was working with Sergio Leone. I got his.
That's right, and they're like, you're better than Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, right.
It was like one of the greatest film composers of all time.
Well, I'd have to hear his work, and I don't even know if he's a real character. So.
What, the dad in this?
Yes.
Or Ennio Morricone? I don't even know if Ennio Morricone is real.
Yeah, can I meet him now? No, he didn't exist. Anyway,
closes a little more. You can just see like a flashing red light in the back. I'm like, no, they're gonna know. Oh. They're gonna find out about him. The Blind Man.
So basically, they're supposed to go on this big family trip over like some sort of a break that they're having at school. But he wants to bring along his new fiance, who he just kind of drops in on her without any sort of build-up or context. And she is like, no, I'm not going. And so her in this kind of bout of missing her mother, who has been dead for like 8 to 12 years or however long they say, is kind of like going through pictures and remembering stuff, and remembers that she had an aunt. And she's like, I know, I'll go back to my mom's hometown, I'll write my aunt, and I'll take all my friends and we'll go visit her. Ooh.
This is the last one.
Thank you.
Delivery. Ooh. But yeah, so her and her friends all go to her aunt's house, and her aunt is, spoiler alert, a ghost who is like very old. She's like blind and in a wheelchair. And she starts eating the girls one by one and gaining like
stronger.
Yeah.
Gaining strength. Getting ready to defeat the devil himself. Not really.
Yeah, but there's, I think, 7 girls.
Yeah, there's Gorgeous, Melody, Fantasy, Mac.
Yeah.
Kung Fu.
The best one.
Did I say Sweet? And Prof. Professor.
Yeah. And they all kind of represent some sort of like cliche.
Whatever, they just
yeah. They're the names are very on the nose.
And they all die in ironic ways to their name.
Yeah.
Like Kung Fu dies in pretty much an impossible battle trying to save her friends.
But she manages to kick her, like...
her decapitated legs or detached legs?
Yeah, that's exactly why I was pausing there.
Yeah.
Do I say it's not decapitated? Yeah. It's her disembodied legs fall off of her body, and she kicks the picture of the cat, which seems like it might be the heart of evil in that moment.
In the house. Because pretty much this has a lot of like feeling of the house. The house is haunted. The house is the ghost. The ghost is the house. Like the house is the thing eating them. The ghost is just a physical representation of it, kind of thing. Same with like the cat. Like these are all.
Yeah, it's very similar to. I know you haven't seen this, but Burnt Offerings also has a very kind of similar deal going on with it. Although it's played not quite as stylistically.
The Grudge as a whole, like the original, that's also has that feeling, is it's not really the Grudge as an entity, it's the house. Like the Grudge is an embodiment of the house's rage that, like, simmered there. So it's the same kind of thing. And this movie, like, if you look at the things that actually happened in it, it's like depressing. It's a downer of a film. Everyone dies. But it's just, like, played, you know, with this jovial, like, haha, we're all fine, nature to it. Which, the same thing with Hanagatami. Like, it's... Obayashi seemed to be a deeply depressed man. Or at least has a lot of drama. This has a lot of, like, war drama in it. And, like, trauma from, like,
World War
never
II.
really getting over these things. And I think that is represented in the fact that, what?
Oh, the Ant's backstory.
The Ant's backstory, but also even, like, the naming conventions and the way that the primary characters function, because they only... It seems like in post-war times, the next generation latches onto their identity even more. But they're, like... shoehorned into specific things, so they have one thing about them. So they all function as like little storytelling
tools,
stereotypes, and tools. Yeah, but also I think it's a thematic tool as well.
I see. Yeah, I can see that. And there's also like more examples of that within like the Gorgeous's relationship with her like mother and stuff, you know. And it's very interesting, and let's just talk about how fucking zany some of the deaths are in this movie.
I think the most iconic one is the piano one, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Which I think that it's so fun. It's so much fun. I think the movie in general is just like so much fun, but the piano where earlier on you see Melody kind of playing on this piano and becoming kind of hypnotized by it, and by the like the death scene, she goes back, she's doing it again, and then like the piano goes like and she looks at her hands, her fingers are all off, and she's just like she just starts like laughing, and she does it again, and then it just bites off her whole hand, and that's when she's like, "Wah!"
Yeah, and then it
just eats her.
And then like after it eats her, like later, like maybe like a couple minutes later, and a character comes downstairs, but the piano's still been playing in the background this whole time. You just see a bunch of little like detached fingers just on there, just playing the piano, and it's like, oh yeah, no, that's cool.
That's good shit, right?
Yeah, that's really fun.
Well, and I love the way that it eats her, because she like goes into the piano, and it's like, oh no, and then she's on top of the piano, it's like, bah.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of like color effects along with.
There's a lot of like color effects in it. I love there's a scene with, I can't remember whose decapitated head it was, but it's someone's head, and then it's like the blue background.
It's probably Max.
It's like later on. It might actually be Melody's head.
No, maybe.
But there's a lot of scenes in this that I'm just like, that looks great. Also, when she first starts playing the piano, the ghost of the aunt shows up, and she's dancing with the skeleton. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And then later on, anytime you see the piano, if you look in the background, the skeleton's just kind of dancing.
Yeah, I noticed
like,
that.
This is good. This is good. Good movie.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's super crazy. And yeah, it just kind of, I don't know. It's really bizarre. Like, one of the deaths in the movie is a guy gets turned into a pile of bananas.
It's so good, because you don't even really see it. It's just like, there he is, a pile of bananas with his hat on.
Yeah, and it's just like, what the fuck happened to him? Okay, interesting. But...
Well, I think it's like, that whole, like, watermelon stand... all those foods are just like people that visited. I'm pretty sure like that's what happened to Mac. And so I don't know why he turns into a banana pile instead of another watermelon though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think because he said he preferred bananas. So that's just that. But because there's a scene where they're all like, after Mac has like died and Fantasy like found Mac's head in the well and it like bites her ass and shit, which I thought was super funny. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? But they all gather around and eat the watermelon because it was chilling in a well, and Mac like goes to get it, and then her character like disappears, and Fantasy like sees her head and stuff. So they're all eating the watermelon afterwards, and like you see the aunt, and she's just like kind of like has a mouthful and like kind of showing Fantasy. It's like, oh, I've got an eye in my mouth.
Oh, I tricked you.
But I thought the implication of that scene is like the watermelon is Mac's head, and they're all just eating it, but they don't realize it because it's like some sort of like Lost Boys-esque delusion that they're having where it's a watermelon. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this movie, but it's interesting.
It's like a wild time. I think that and what I love about movies like this is like it has a layer of, just fun zaniness that you can just latch onto. You can just watch it for that. But I think there's also like things that are these underlying things below that layer that are more... that's where like the real horror lies, where it's these sad tales of like women, dying and trauma from war and not being able to become an adult because the war took them as kids. So why wouldn't you take these kids as well? I love movies that are stupid or are like dumb and fun, but then have something like underneath going for it. And I think House does have a lot in that sense.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, but I just watched it for the first time today, so it's like
you're just thinking about it. Yeah, that's what's like. I always think about just so many House scenes. I'm like, that's good. I love like the slapstick humor of Mr. Togo at the beginning when he's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and the cat like messes with him. Like Blanche is like, "Hey, I'm gonna make you trip," and then he like falls down and, and then he gets stuck.
Really weirdly edited. But it's funny. He's like, I have to go to the hospital. I'll be there later tonight. It's not that serious, but I have to go to the hospital.
I can't get the bucket off my hands.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Like just the editing in this movie is just so like surreal and like strange and fun. And it's like there's so many crossfades and weird like green screen effects and like fades into drawings of trains like when they're on the train. Like
there's some animated bits and pieces here and there.
Just it really has it's a feast for the eyes.
Kind of reminded me of like Daisies a bit when I was watching it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Obayashi seems like he's a pretty experimental dude, so I'm sure he
had probably seen Daisies.
Yeah. Or some. I don't know how big Daisies was in Japan. I don't know how big international films were in Japan in general.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say on that one.
Because now it's so easy to watch so many movies. But
you like to think that people in the industry had those like connections or to where they could just be like, yeah, give me a reel of that. But you never know.
Yeah.
But Hausu.
I'm trying to think of... Yeah, the skeleton bit's so good. I love the kung fu stuff. I like Gorgeous as a character. I like characters that are like possessed and then traumatized by those events when they like come to and then it's too late for them. It happens in Sweet Home as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all the characters are fun. I like the actresses a lot. I think they work well together. I think this movie's like gorgeous to look at. I love the music. It reminds me of like the zaniness of something like Funeral Parade of Roses. I was thinking about that movie a lot.
Yeah, that one popped up in my mind once or twice while watching this as well.
just like it's so like jovial and like da 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 da, but to the point that it starts feeling like demented and like uneasy. It's like, should I be enjoying myself here?
Dealer's choice.
But I think this movie's incredible. I love this movie a lot.
Yeah, no, I really, really liked it. I'm interested to see how I'll feel about it once I sit on it a little more. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed my time with it. I can see why it's so revered. So
I also think this movie's interesting because I really feel like you get a lot out of it on like second and third watches. Because once you get, kind of settled with like the zaniness of it, I feel like you're able to
pick up
absorb some of the of the subtext, some of the even the text, because sometimes you're just not even paying attention to what's being said because like, what the fuck is that in the background?
Yeah, fair. I feel that. But yeah, no, this one was really good.
I moved it up on my top 100 list.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm like, fuck yeah. It needs to go up. I think it's like number 20 now or so.
Very nice. Yeah, that was a big jump. Didn't you say it was like 50-something?
Yeah, I was kind of messing with it all, though. I'm like, I moved a bunch of stuff. Yeah. But that list is like always like... Because they're all movies I like absolutely love, so it's like top 10 I feel like is pretty secure most of the time, and then like 20 to 50 is like switching. Probably 20 to 100 actually.
Fair.
But
yeah,
I would give this movie a 10, obviously. But yeah, let's talk about the movie that had a video game that inspired Resident Evil. Let's talk about Sweet Home.
That's kind of because Resident Evil 1 started off as a Sweet Home game. But they lost the rights like partway through. So they were like, let's just kind of mix it up and change it around, and it became Resident Evil.
What if instead of it was called Sweet Home, what if it was called Evil Home? Or wait, what if it Home Evil? Wait, Resident Evil.
Yeah, honestly, Resident Evil is like a really good spin-off title of Sweet Home, but that's not what it's called in Japan. It's the Biohazard series.
Yeah, that's right, which is a bad name. Or at least not a good name for what it's capturing.
Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth. I feel like with the early entries, Resident Evil works better because
Biohazard works well for like 5 and 6, even like 7.
Yeah, but
with the more like militarized, but 1 and 2 are spooky, and it's like walking. It's like ooh, spooky. 1 specifically,
Yeah, and it's like what's it called? Yeah, they were just told like, Biohazard's going to be really hard to like trademark over here in like the West. You should call it something else over here. So they're like, all right, what? It's in a mansion? Resident Evil.
Mansion. Sinister Mansion.
Mansion. Maniacal Mansion.
That's good. That's good.
Always do the double letters if you can. It'll stick with people.
I don't know why, but this movie specifically, while it feels like it draws some inspiration from something like House, it also feels a little more westernized in its approach. And it kind of, I don't know why, but I kind of felt like it reminded me of Tourist Trap a little bit.
I could maybe see that. I know you haven't seen this one. I was getting big Changeling vibes from this one, because that one's also got like kind of like it's very much like, oh, go to this house and kind of like figure out the mystery behind this sad but angry ghost that lives here, and maybe you can get out.
Which is my jam.
Yeah, no. Changeling's really good.
I think Sweet Home is pretty good.
I think it starts off a little slow. Like, I wasn't digging it for the first, like, half an hour or so. But once it gets going, I really liked it.
I probably agree with you. Like, I like some of the setup. I like this setup. I just don't necessarily think all of it's needed. Like, the big scene where he's, like, arguing with the guy. He's like, oh, or TV. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You could have just started it. I got the key to this mansion.
Yeah, no. There was, that setup was
just a little long, too.
Yeah. The soundtrack, I I'd say consistently throughout the movie, I didn't very much enjoy, but especially in that first, like, third, I thought was way too cartoony and zany.
I'm okay with the cartoony and zany stuff. I just don't think it necessarily...
I didn't think it matched the tone.
Yeah, I need it to either match well or clash a lot. Like, you know, I think it could work, but I don't think the movie took itself seriously enough for it to be like a good enough clash for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like some of the songs in this. I like some of the music, and I like the direction. I like Kiyoshi Kurosawa a lot.
Yeah.
Apparently he wasn't, like, extremely happy with the end result of this. Because it kind of feels strange in some of the finale moments. Like, I don't think all the deaths and all the parts, like, weave together really well. There's some really strange cuts, in my opinion, and, like...
I will say, I think my biggest issue with this movie is, like... Yeah, it takes a while to get going, and then they kill off, like, 2 of, like, the...
Five. And then another guy shows up.
Yeah, so it's like...
Yeah, I'm fine with him killing off the main guy where he's melting, because that looks sick. Yes. That was awesome. But then, like, that other lady immediately dies from an axe that the guy had placed there. And as soon as he placed that, I'm like, it's going to fall on someone in, like, 20 minutes.
You need to put that sharp sight down.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because even then, if they had done a kill where, like, it, like, fell down and then someone... like, that would have been fine. But I'm just like, what is this? I do like how it falls and then it, like, moves. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, no, it's the house. So, yeah, these 5 people that work for, like, a TV station... Well, 4 people and one of the guy's daughters.
Yeah.
They go to this abandoned mansion.
Which...
It has...
Yeah, also, I thought that... For the first, like, half of this movie, I'm like, this daughter, like, why did they bring the daughter? And then, like, by the end, I'm like, I like that the daughter was there because it's thematically relevant, but goddamn did it feel forced and shoehorned in there. But...
I feel like they could have even, like, done some dialogue, like, to easily, like, make it a little more seamless, I guess, but it's more just like, I thought it'd be fun to take you. She's like, you're the one that said it would be the adventure of a lifetime. I'm like, yeah, because you almost die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. If it were me, I probably would have just made one of the crew pregnant and had it, like, where they, like, give birth in the house and they can't get out or something. That way you can still have that, like, oh, we need to save the child kind of a thing, but, like...
I do like the kid as a character, though, and I like her relationship with her dad. I like that relationship. I think I like the dad in this a lot.
Yeah, I think my favorite character was the love interest that's, like, kind of stepping in as the mother figure for the dad and the daughter, who is basically the one who carries the entire third act on her shoulders. But, yeah.
Yeah, that is the lady... The main character, pretty much, Akiko.
Pretty much, yeah.
She is in Tom Popo. She's the main character in that, which I talked about. My favorite character is Mr. Yamamura.
The old guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that guy's sick. And discovering this right now, that is the director of Tom Popo.
Oh. Huh. Interesting.
Huh.
I guess that makes sense. But,
yeah, I think that guy's really fun. He's just like a random old man who's working on the car, and that he, like, is so enthralled by this football game that he, like, accidentally almost kills himself. You know, the camera keeps auto-focusing on something. I think there might be a ghost right here or something. Because, you know.
Maybe.
Well, if I just do this... Yeah, I like that guy just because he's like a weird guy, and he's like, here, have some free gas, and she's like, we're off to the mansion. He's like, what? And then he comes back, and he's like, you guys, you broke the idol.
Yeah, which their camera guy did earlier. who is also coincidentally the guy who put the axe on the wall wrong.
Maybe he was the house.
He was kind of the main villain of the movie, if you really think about it.
Akira.
He got
Taguchi.
them into the house. He fucking put that axe on the wall.
Yeah.
And he knocked over the talisman that was keeping the place at bay. But yeah, basically, for those who are kind of curious about like what the premise of this is, documentary people go to haunted house of an old famous Japanese painter who's dead, and they're like, we think that there might be some like lost frescoes of his in there. But
I did not know what a fresco was before this movie, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm just like, well, obviously, like I knew, like I've seen what a fresco is.
Yeah.
But I was like, what the fuck are they talking about?
I guess that's fair. I took an art history class in college.
I'm Thomas. I went to college.
So yeah, I didn't know until I took that class, but then I was like, oh, I know what frescoes are now. But yeah, so they're basically like, oh, we really want to like go in and like see what this is, and they go, and it's like, oh, horrible scenes of terror and baby burning, which reminds me of, I think his name is, I'd have to look up which painter it is. There's a painter, I think it's,
is the guy who has the guy in the son's head?
You're talking about, fucking, yeah, I know what painting you're talking about. You're talking about the Titan,
Titan eating, whoever said, yeah.
Yeah, I know that Titan's name. I was literally just talking about that painting the other day, too, but,
Oh, Thomas, all I do is I talk about paintings with people. I love art.
I think it's Goit is the guy's name.
Goemon Ishikawa the 13th.
Let me look. But yeah, basically there was this painting who, like, shut himself in his house at the end of his life, and basically on all the walls of his house he drew, like, painted, like, really creepy, like, kind of satanic imagery, and it creeped a bunch of people out.
If I was dying, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'd pretend that I was seeing visions of hell or something. Mm-hmm. Just to fuck with
it. It might... I don't think it's Caravaggio. It might be Caravaggio. Painter who painted scary things on his house while dying.
Painter who was scared? Spooky? Spooky little... While Thomas is finding the scary painter man, there is a scene in this movie where, well, obviously I talked briefly, but Taguchi's death is the shadows start like coming to life and it starts creeping around. Go ahead.
It's Goya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, but shadows start creeping through the house, and then eventually when they touch him, it starts like burning him alive. I don't know what it is, but the way that they shot the shadows moving around, like, actually kind of filled me with dread. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Once, like, the shadows came into play, I was like, okay, I'm really
I really like the way the shadows are shot in this movie. I think the movie, for the most part, I like the effects of it. I love eventually they have an altercation with, like, the ghost of the house, the lady of the manor, and she becomes like this horrible, hideous, like puppet thing. Looks great. I love it. Yeah. I love the look of it. It reminds me of like Evil Dead 2 a little bit, like the final stuff in that.
Yeah, what it really reminded me of was Dead Alive or Brain Dead. There's a similar looking.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's a similar looking kind of effect at the end of that movie, but she's got like big baby boils like coming out of her neck and stuff, and
seemingly all the babies that she burned alive.
Yeah. Also, we didn't explain the backstory. This is the painter's wife who accidentally killed her child who had just started.
It started walking and it was in the furnace. I'm like, what?
I think it was an accident.
How did it get in the furnace? Even if it can walk, do you leave the furnace open?
Yeah, I don't know.
It had a big ass heavy door.
Here, you sit here, let me put wood into the furnace and forget about you entirely and just...
Because when they say things like that, I'm like, no, it obviously was just like the mother going crazy. But then it seems like she legitimately just wants her kid back. So I'm like, maybe it's not, like, maybe the baby did just happen to be in there? I'm like, why? So some of that I'm also just like, I would have liked a little...
I agree.
more to that, I guess.
But yeah, I guess after that she went full Freddy Krueger, where she just started kidnapping children from around the area and throwing them into the fucking furnace.
So that their souls would be friends with her dead baby.
Yes. And then eventually...
Sound logic.
And then eventually she tossed herself into the furnace.
Because the villagers, they found out about it and they were going to come in and kill her, and I think she...
Mm-hmm.
Either they killed her or she... The story he tells... That's another thing, because I do like narrators that aren't...
Unreliable, yeah.
Or I like unreliable narrators at times. So, like, when Yamamura is telling the story, it's like, I feel like the villagers just killed her. And she killed her baby. But at the end, I'm like, maybe she didn't. But I like the idea of these. I'm like, no, she did not kill herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, yeah, so basically, so she possesses the main, like, producer's child, and, like, I really like the effect, because, like, they think they find her, and it's like, they're gonna grab her, and, like, the old man's like, no, wait, that's not her, and her face is just completely in shadows.
No, that's, like... That's the, like, tonal clash of this movie, is it's kind of goofy, and then, like, some of it's, like, legitimately dread-inducing. Mm-hmm. Like, the look of that.
And she just starts
the, like, turnover, yeah.
Oh, dude, it looks so good.
I like... And I've always liked the kind of, like, drawn-on effects of, like, the blue, like, stuff when they were, like, reaching for a thing. I'm like, that looks fun. I like those, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, yeah, basically... So... Yeah, the shadows are alive in this house, and basically they need to get this girl back. But so yeah, they basically just kind of have to. There's a scene earlier where, like, the host of, like, these documentaries that they shoot, like, digs up the child, but she's, like, in a trance when she does it, so she doesn't remember doing it.
So they just put it back. But eventually they're like, what if we simply gave the child back to the mother? Mm-hmm. Also... I think one of the things about this movie that I'm like, man, that could have been so cool, is I really like how the dad, like, steps up at the end of the movie. He's like, I'm gonna go save. Yeah. And then he just is hiding? Or I don't even know what because he's just like, he goes in, he's like, protect her.
They make it look like he dies, and then it's
But then he's just in a cabinet.
And it's like, okay, so either the ghost put him in there or he hid in there, but regardless, I don't think either of those makes too much sense. Yeah. And then he just comes out at the end. I think I would have just preferred if he had tried to go in there and died.
Or if he had saved her, because there's this... I like the storyline of this, like, woman who's grown attached and kind of becomes a motherly figure. Mm-hmm. He also, like, specifically, like, what about the father? Like, why can't I do anything? And I wanted... Like, them to have that step up. He's like, that's been the missing piece. That's why nobody's been able, because, you know, I needed to do this.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, but...
Like, he steps up in the mother's place, you know, so it seems a little thematically muddy. I don't know if this was all, like, maybe studio interference or, like, Kiyoshi Kurosawa maybe rethinking things, but, like, it doesn't quite get there for me. Yeah. I still like the movie, and I think it looks fun, and, you know, like, I like most of the deaths.
Yeah.
Even, like, the head, I like. It's just would have liked it a little later, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if this movie had just tweaked a couple things around, it could have been, like, a modern, or not a modern, but, like, a horror masterpiece that we talk about, like, today. But it's mostly been kind of forgotten and just, like, an early work of, like, a pretty big horror director and the predecessor to Resident Evil. So it's got, like, some cool kind of cultish attraction for that kind of stuff. But it's like, yeah, I really feel like if they had just kind of fixed a couple of the small issues this movie had, it could have been, like, much more.
Yeah, because it's that, and that's the annoying thing. Like, you know, bad movies, I'm like, that's fine. But I think this is a good movie, but it's, like, so close to being great, but it's just, like, missteps, like, some key parts.
Yeah. But I do think that over here in the West, we need to release this along with more of his movies, because we don't even have Pulse over here. No, not Pulse. Cure.
There's it's new. There's a Criterion on it.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I was going to say, for the longest time, Cure did not have release over here. because I would love...
I haven't bought it yet, but I'm pretty sure there's a Criterion.
Yeah, if there is, I need to buy that my next paycheck, because I want more of his films over here for me to own. Legally.
Yeah, this really just, I like this movie, but it mostly made me go, I need to go watch some Kiyoshi Kurosawa right now.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same. I was like, this makes me really want to. I almost watched Pulse after this, but the Red Dead hankering was...
Pulse is it's such a, tonally different movie from this.
Oh, yeah.
And Pulse is deeply depressing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pulse... I mean, most of his work after this, and even, it's present in this, but he seems to like the melancholic horror, which I'm all about, so it's like...
But yeah, like I said, I still think this movie's really good. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so close to being great for me though, and it just doesn't quite get there. Because I like the characters in this, but it's just man, just tweak a little bit of this dialogue, change a few things.
Yeah,
maybe help the pacing a little bit in the beginning.
Get a more atmospheric soundtrack.
Yeah. Because I love the atmosphere in the house.
Yeah.
And, even, the soundtrack, I feel like the soundtrack was trying to be similar to, Hausu, but I'm but you're not doing anything else that's similar to Hausu.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't match tonally like it did in Hausu. But, yeah, regardless, I'd still say I really like this one, despite its flaws. This one strikes the balance between it's almost melancholic in that horror sense I like, but it's also kind of campy and
it's an interesting
Evil Dead
stepping stone to his newer stuff. Because Sam Raimi watching Evil Dead, he kind of doubled down on his stuff when going into Spider-Man and stuff like that, or Darkman, things like that after Evil Dead, and he definitely toned down by the end of Spider-Man. But this, he's what did I like about this movie? All the sad shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's do more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I really like this one.
I'd give this one a 7. Yeah, so great week though. I really had fun with these, and I'm excited to probably play that NES game a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what we haven't watched in a while?
Oh God, what?
Lupin!
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something awful. I thought you were going to be the bag!
I was thinking about it, but Lupin 0 just finished. It was 6 episodes.
Okay.
This last episode came out 2 days ago. So we're going to watch Lupin 0. Only the sub's out, unfortunately, but...
We'll make do. It'll still be good.
Yeah, 6 episodes. Nice, easy week. It's 3 hours, 4 hours of content. But we need more Lupin in our life. Apparently, it's really good. I was kind of, I was this weird doing young Lupin stuff, but apparently, from the people I've talked to, they really like it. So
okay. I mean, I look forward to it. I always enjoy me
down
some
for Lupin always.
So
yeah, we're going to do that. And then after that, we're going to go to hell. Woo! Anyway, thank you all for watching the podcast or listening if you're listening. I'm pointing at the screen aggressively. Thomas is kissing you. But yes, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this episode and next episode and the 5 billion after that. We'll see you next week. Toodaloo.
Adios.